welcome to our show. You're watching Public Access TV. This show is called Try This at Home, and the purpose of the show is to give you a tool for your own transformation, a tip regarding something you can do, something very tangible that you can leave the show with and incorporate into your own life to make it better. My name is Anne Martel. I'm a meditation teacher and a Lamaze teacher. So basically, I help people go within and get their baby out. I'm here today with a very special guest, Dr. Anne Tepp. Hi, Alan.
Hi, Anne.
Hi. Alan is a Yale-trained psychologist who has practices in Fishkill, in Ridgefield, Connecticut, and also in Westchester. And Alan's practice, I mean, it's pretty diverse, I know, but you have a special attachment-based psychology regarding relationships. And personally, I feel like relationships are the most transformational tool we have in our life to get love and companionship and comfort and the things that we want. So I'm so happy you're here.
I'm happy to be with you this morning.
Thank you. Do you have like, if you could tell everybody one thing that would make their relationship better, what would that one thing be?
I think if I was to say one thing,
Right.
I would say that open and honest communication 100% of the time, 100% of the time with kindness and compassion. If we could all do that all the time, that might be the single most important thing to foster a healthy relationship.
Okay, I'm going to throw something at you. Really? 100% of the time?
100% of the time.
So like, hi, honey, I'm attracted to the handyman. Really? Like, you should say that.
Well, would that be kind and compassionate to your boyfriend or husband?
Well, it's honest, though. Like,
Yeah,
you say honesty.
I said 100%
Okay.
honest and open 100% of the time with kindness and compassion.
Okay, so, honey, we have a problem. I'm attracted to the, I don't mean to be laughing.
No, you could say, honey,
it's not funny.
we have a problem. I love you very, very much,
Right.
and I enjoy every aspect of our relationship.
Right.
But I found myself looking at the handyman today and feeling
Right.
myself attracted to him, so we need to talk about it.
Right.
That would be a good way to say it.
And that's important to say.
Yes, that is very important to say, and that's not often said.
Right.
Well, more than often.
Why not?
Because it's hard to say.
Because we're afraid.
Right.
That the other person's going to take the love away.
Well, not only the love away, but the person will then pull back
Right.
and then act out that hurt feeling by engaging in maybe an extramarital relationship.
Or anything.
Right. Get angry, right. We avoid, it's not easy to have this kind of relationship.
Where you tell the truth.
You tell the truth all the time.
All the time. Like.
And do it without ever being mean.
I feel like that is very challenging and pretty necessary. I mean, I call that no separation and try to incorporate that in my relationships. I think the most challenging part is fear of hurting the other person's feelings. Don't you think that like, let's say the absolute truth is one partner's gained 75 pounds and the other person is not attracted. Like, how do you say that and not hurt the other person and also, like, not have an agenda about it? Like what, do you tell the truth just to, like, end the wall that you have up with the other person, or do you tell the truth because you expect the other person to change to the way you want it to be? Do you know what I mean? Like what's the purpose of telling the truth, do you think?
I think the purpose of telling the truth would be when you get involved in this person's life in the very beginning, to start talking about what kind of things you want in a relationship. So long before they gain the first 2 pounds of those 75 pounds, I would say to the person, if I was somebody who was upset by the 75 pounds,
Right.
I would have said in week 3 or 5 or 7 of the relationship, oh, by the way, it's really important to me to stay at the weight I was in high school. And if that's important to you also, that would be really good. So is that important to you? And if it is, then I think this relationship can go further. But if it's not, then we have to talk about that, because maybe this relationship can't go further. In other words, I understand you can't predict the future, but maybe starting from shared values and shared beliefs and shared dreams and shared goals
Right.
would be a really good place to talk about.
Foundation.
Yeah, because that's why people have these kind of problems, because they start relationships and they live in the bliss of early relationships.
How long does that last, in your experience?
Well,
I don't mean personally.
Yeah,
I
it
mean
can last 2 years. It
psychology.
can last 3 weeks. It's pretty variable.
Is it?
It's
Okay.
the chemistry can be very intense, and you know the expression your grandmother said, "Love is blind," right? What they mean by that is that you're just caught in a blissful chemistry of sexual and sensual and excitement, and you hear people say, "Oh God, he thinks just like me," but then they get divorced 7 years later. That's because everything that you hear in the beginning just is resonating with your own beliefs. You're hearing what you want to hear. So early on, it's good to talk about things openly and honestly,
Right.
really openly and honestly, and then see if the relationship makes sense.
Well, in some ways, I feel like early on, it's easier to talk about everything openly and honestly, because you're not so invested. Do you know, like, I could tell you anything when I don't care if you're going to walk away.
Right.
It's when you're already invested that it becomes more challenging to.
Right, except I think
Tell
the
the
reason
truth.
often people don't is what you said earlier. I do attachment-based work,
Right.
and everybody's looking for attachments. So early on, for some people, it's not so easy, to talk openly and honestly, because you so want someone to love you, and you so want someone to love. So that's why.
So sometimes it's hard even in the beginning.
Yeah, the very emotionally hungry person is less likely to be open and honest early on.
And so thank you very much. I think openness and honesty is certainly a key. And I'm wondering if that's true, like it's equally true in all relationships. Like, how do you define, like if it's a casual friend, am I still gonna?
Yeah. I think the really most important relationships in your life, it's not easy to have an open and honest relationship. Most people don't have them.
Right.
So if you try to have open and honest relationships with every single person in your life,
Right.
including the grocery clerk and
Right.
everyone,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, and it's very, very difficult, and it's very time consuming,
Right.
because you have to put a lot of mental energy into making sure you're saying that honest statement with
Right.
kindness
Right.
and with compassion. So I think
It's-
we have to pick and choose who we want to be having this kind of open and honest relationship with kindness and compassion, so that we don't burden ourselves with.
Right.
I mean, the ideal would be to be that way with everyone, but
Right.
Realistically, it's hard.
Thank you. Because one time I said to this woman, I was like, listen, I feel separation from you. I don't know, I don't know if you don't like me or if I'm bringing something to the table, but I'm just feeling this energy coming, and I don't want it. So, I'm just trying to be honest. And she said, listen, you can't be friends with everyone. I was like, she hates me. Well, that was clear.
Right.
I was like, okay. So,
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
It was good. Like the honesty was good, because then I don't call her.
But I work with a lot of patients. When I tell them this, I tell them this isn't the end all and be all of this perfect relationship. Just because it actually opens up a lot of
Can of
things.
worms.
Yeah, it's a can of worms. Like you have to be careful.
Right.
Oh, that's a great tool to take. I'm going to start being open and on. Your listeners don't want to jump into this without some help and some support and some guidance and some work. sometimes in a, counselor's
Therapy.
office where they get help with this kind of openness and honesty.
Right.
Some people aren't used to growing up with that kind of kindness and compassion, so they don't have a lot of modeling for it.
Right. And what is the saying? Something like truth without compassion is brutality?
Yes.
Right.
So, but, if you have those kinds of early experiences with healthy attachments in your life, people who are truly there for you, it's easier to be more grounded and go to that place of openness and honesty. If you grew up with a lot of unempathic people or poor quality attachments and you have your own inabilities to form those kinds of healthy attachments, it's much harder.
Okay. So, so another thing I want to talk about in relationships is that it's important to have fun. Don't you think? I mean, I feel like we get so involved in our lives that we forget somehow to have fun sometimes. And so Dr. Tepp and I have, we're friends, we have a relationship, and I just want to tell the viewers about one of the most fun times I had with you. So I don't even know how this ended up happening, that I decided that I wanted to Indian wrestle with Dr. Tepp. And in a minute, I'm going to show you what Indian wrestling is. But I was like so cocky, okay? Like I have to share this experience with you because it's actually pretty freaking funny. So, because I Indian wrestle with my children. It's a fun thing.
How old are your children, though? Young.
Right, they're young. He's picking on me right now. So, but they're boys, But anyway, Indian wrestling, what you do, and we're gonna just demo in a second, but what you do is you like connect your legs and you stand up and you plant your feet. So you can only move your upper body, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to like knock the other person off of their stance, like move their feet. So I was like, listen, I'm female. We have a lower sense of gravity. I'm like so grounded. I'm like totally going to take Dr. Tepp's butt in this. I was like so sure I was like going to win this Indian wrestling game because I do with my young children. So so we're like Indian wrestling, and I'm like really working it, and Alan's just kind of sitting there pretty like, pretty mellow. And so at one point I look at him and I'm like, you're trying, right? And he's like, no. And I'm like, no, you're trying to win this game. And he's like, Anne, I'm not trying to win the game. And I'm like, shut up. I'm like grounding, He's like, I'm really not trying. I go, then you better try because this is ridiculous and I don't believe you. So he like yanks his arm for like 1 second, sends me flying across the room on the couch. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was such a lesson in humility because I really didn't think you were trying.
Yeah.
So anyway, there are all sorts of ways to have fun in relationships.
Fun. Yeah, well, Sigmund Freud said we should balance work and play. He said
All right,
it too.
so can we demo Indian wrestling? Because I think this is something they can take and try at home.
Sure, whatever you want.
Okay. You guys really, seriously, do this with your children, do this with your friends, like not when you're having moments of truth and you're like arguing with each other and telling truth. No, you have to do it like this, don't you? Yeah, and you have to try to, you brace your legs together and you have to try to don't throw me across the room, Alan. You have to try to like pull the other person off of it, right?
Yeah.
This is Indian wrestling. Yeah. There's no way in heck. So we have an editor. But anyway, it's a fun game. Okay. Sorry. That's Dr. Tepp, everybody. He's fun. He probably won't Indian wrestle you if you go see him in his studio, in his office, right?
Yeah.
Ever Indian wrestle a patient?
Well, Indian wrestling